Okay, you ready? Karen? Yeah, ready? Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting for Tuesday, February the 3rd. We have Councillor Trowbridge is joining us remotely, and you can see him on the screen there. Before we get started, the Village of Anmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. It'd be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we'd like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many tutorial keepers of these lands and waters around us since time memorial. I'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. Recommendation that the agenda be approved is circulated. Someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Public input. For agenda items only, anybody like to add any comments on tonight's agenda? You could just state your name and address, please. Oh, it's not, sorry. Let's see. Try, test. Our audiovisual person is not here today, so that's where we're having a bit of problems. We do have a separate mic there. Try it now, Neil? No, nothing. Yeah. There we go.
Hello? Okay, Neil Lyons, 1024 Ravenswood Drive, and I'd just like to make a statement regarding the realignment of Ravenswood Drive.
If you can hold the mic a little closer to there.
I'd just like to make a statement regarding the realignment of Ravenswood Drive. So I've read Mr. Boyd's report on page 113 of tonight's agenda regarding the Spirit Park update and was in attendance at the second resident input meeting. I could not help but notice there are several omissions in his report to council that were discussed at the workshops. The first being that we heard the residents were very concerned about the realignment of Ravenswood Drive exiting onto Sunnyside at a potentially dangerous corner compounded by a hill grade. Now, Mr. Boyd does not acknowledge these concerns in his report. There also appears to be no traffic or safety report attached regarding this. In addition, the residents also asked that a third option be considered, which would bring Ravenswood out onto a level and straighter part of Sunnyside. Mr. Boyd told us he would have the third option available to look at today. But again, I don't see this mentioned in his report. He also failed to mention that residents felt there were too many pedestrian crossings on Ravenswood Drive in the plan. So as a resident of Ravenswood Drive, I would ask the council not make any decisions regarding the park until the Ravenswood Drive road alignment can be thoroughly assessed and that the information Mr. Boyd promised be made available to us with a proper traffic study and a safety assessment. So I'll look forward to Mr. Boyd's response to this tonight when we arrive to that point in the agenda. But I'll give you, I'd like to give a copy to Ms. Eldridge to be entered in as public input, please.
Thank you. Can I just for clarity, the third option is more north up Sunnyside.
I'll give you each a copy of this, and I've drafted it out in a rough draft, of course, as to what was discussed. And Mr. Boyd might want to take exception with that. I don't know, but I think it's pretty close to what we were discussing.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Am I being heard, or?
I think you're going to have to use this other microphone. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Oh, is that? Oh, sorry. Oh, just get a little closer. If you could start up with your name and address for the record.
Am I being heard? Yes.
Just get a little closer.
A little closer? Okay. Ramey Coupel, 1017 Ravenswood Drive. I I want to echo what my neighbor Neil has said, and as far as details about our concerns with Ravenswood Drive. I'm just asking council if there's not a safety report with what's proposed for the access egress onto Sunnyside with the realigned Ravenswood. I would ask council and mayor to maybe consider putting that on hold until we're certain that it is in fact safe to access egress at that new location. Another thought that comes to mind, because it will be discussed tonight, is the Hell Weinberg Park, which, I mean, the glossies look spectacular. It's something exciting to look forward to. But like I noticed there's a lot of lawn going in, or grass fields. I would say at least an acre that I can tell just by looking at the map. I would like everyone to consider the costs of maintaining that. I mean, never mind it's $1 million to grade and put the lawn in, but it's the maintenance which can possibly, from the research I've done, $1,600 a month just to maintain, to properly fertilize, water, and cut. Never mind the concerns about drought, water restrictions, and if we look out the window, we can see what our current lawns look like with the crows eating the grubs. So that's just one example of ongoing costs once we in fact do follow up on the proposal of this Hal Weinberg Park. So in making a decision, let's consider what it's actually going to cost the community if the value is truly there to have all the nice details that obviously as residents we'd all like to have, but we should consider the financial costs as well to maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you. See no other public input. We'll move on now. Oh, sorry.
You're going too fast.
Sorry.
This has to do with...
Name and address.
Yeah, it's Mike, and 2555 Sunnyside Road. My concern is with the park as well. On page 131 of the report, it states in the reforest area that residents were concerned of flooding or drainage in there. And if you look on page 118 where you price out everything, there is no mention of any drainage anywhere there. And I'd like to know if that's going to change or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other public input? No? Okay, we'll now move on to delegations. We don't have any. The minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 13th, 2026. There is a typo on page 6 that I caught, where it says 80,000 for labor and benefits. We're forgetting the $ in front of that. Okay. Any other errors or omissions? Okay, I'll call the question that be adopted as circulated. Someone to move that? Second. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, is there any business arising from the minutes? Nope. Okay, we have a consent agenda. Anybody want to pull anything off of the consent agenda?
A, B, and F,
A,
please.
B, and F. Okay, anything else? No? Councillor Trowbridge, no? Okay. Could I get then the rest of the consent agenda moved? Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. So we'll go to 7A, notice of intent for procurements conducted by Canoe Procurement Group of Canada between February 4th and February 3rd be revised or be received for information. Could I get someone, first of all, to move the recommendation? Moved. Seconded. Seconded. Now move on to Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but I didn't know what this was, and I had to look into what it was. So I was thinking maybe it's just a reasonable thing for potentially staff to mention what it actually is and why it's potentially good for Anmore, because on the top of it, it looked a bit suspicious to me, but, I understand it now. So that's my thought.
Ms. Martin.
Thank you. The purpose of signing up for Canoe Procurement is to be able to purchase in large volumes. So Canoe goes to BC Bid and posts RFPs for all items, rates them, and posts those by contract. And we can then, using our Canoe membership, use those RFPs for purchasing. So it's a way for us to purchase like we were a big municipality.
Good. Is that good? Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, 7B, consultation on proposed Metro 2050 amendment options in response to South of Fraser requests. Recommendations that correspondence from Metro Vancouver regarding consultation of proposed Metro 2050 amendment options in response to south of the Fraser Mayor's request be received for information. Could I get someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, so when I read through this, like it specifically the letter talks about Anmore, or south of the Fraser River, and the changing of the type of amendment you need to remove from rural to some other designation, industrial or general urban. And if you read the small print, which is the exception type rule, I forget what the clause was, 6.2.7, I think Anmore gets caught up in that, and I was just wanting clarification if that's true or not. So in 6.2.7 of Metro 2050, it says 2% of a regional land use designation. Okay, now what people don't often realize about Anmore is huge. It's about 10.63 square miles, or 6,803 acres. So 2% of that is 136 acres. So I think what it means, and I'm not clear, is that if this change goes through, for example, Anmore South could essentially almost entirely be put into the general urban without going through the Metro Vancouver board voting. Is that correct? Did I read that correctly? And if so, is that something we actually want as a village?
Maybe I can answer it probably better than Mr. Boyd could. What it is that these group of municipalities are asking for a lower threshold to change the amendment from a rural to an urban designation. And with that, with the step in between is a special study area, as Anmore has right now, which is the 50.1 threshold. The other is that all municipalities have to vote as a council in favor of it.
Yeah. But the change is that all the others don't have to vote in favor of it with the Type 3 amendment, is
Right.
my understanding.
Right.
And based on the exception of 6.2.7, my read of it is if that amendment goes through, which would not just apply to land south of the Fraser, it would apply to all Metro Vancouver, then that means that Anmore South, which is a special study area, would also fall into that, or at least 136 acres of it could potentially fall into that.
Do you know more about Mr. Joseph?
I mean, it's not hugely important, but if we're going to make a comment on this, which because it's asked for comments, it seems to me we should clarify what it actually means for Anmore and either agree or make some comment we don't agree or we'd like a change.
This is just to be received, not to provide comments.
I understand, but in the future, like...
So I could just, so all three of those options that passed the first one, I believe, are broad for all members. So if in fact it does apply to Anmore, then we would have an interest in it, just to get an understanding of what that means. But staff can do some more research to understand what that means specifically for Anmore South or other urban containment boundaries in the village. Yeah.
From what I've been told so far is that the three south of the Fraser municipalities, because they're growing in such an extreme rate, or have been growing in such an extreme rate, want to control and don't want to have to go to the entire regional board to be able to change any of their designations for their land. Nevertheless, the regional growth strategy is a provincial dictated thing that all municipalities have to sign on to. But I think we should ask Mr. Joseph if we can get some more information on it and how that would specifically apply to Anmore.
Yeah, just to clear, I completely understand why they want that.
Yeah.
I'm just worried that somehow it applies to us in an adverse way and we don't understand how it actually does.
Yeah. Okay. So could I get someone to move the receipt? Second, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. And then we have 7F Union BC 2026 Convention. It should be the mayor and council be authorized to book a hotel room. I'm indifferent to this and that, but I will move and, could I get someone to move the resolution recommendation? I'll second it. Okay, Councillor Richardson.
My concern only is cost control. I understand hotel rooms if it's remote, you can't get home. It is just Vancouver. I think you can get home. The Metro Vancouver or the UCBM are usually done in expensive hotels, so it's high for the village. To have it even a one night, it's usually like $450 to $500 or something along those lines. And I think traditionally, other council members, if they want to stay downtown just for ease, they book their own hotel and pay for their own hotel. So I just was looking for consistency across it. That's all.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, Metro Vancouver pays for my registration to this conference because we've got extensive meetings throughout all days when the conference is on. This was just a follow-up as Belcara does this annually. They will book in to rooms down there. I also don't know if it's going to be that well attended this year because it's going to be right in the middle of an election. So, you know, we certainly could make sure that costs are efficient in regards to this if people do want to go. I don't think it's going to be as heavily sought after and pricing will be as high as what it is, but we could easily put a threshold if prices of hotels are, maybe put a maximum of $300 or something.
I'm okay with something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay. So we'll just amend it to say up to $300 for and with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, we're now on to 11A, Anmore Procedure Bylaw Amendment Options. The recommendation is that the memo dated January 30th, 2026, titled Anmore Procedure Bylaw Amendment Options from the Manager of Corporate Services be received for information. Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I'll over to Essen.
Thank you. This is for reporting back to Council with regarding the options available to amend the Anmore Procedure Bylaw number 704/2024. At the regular Council meeting on October 21st, 2025, Council passed a resolution and expressed its intent to review the Council Procedure Bylaw, specifically the Section 64B. So staff is reporting back on that. First point of discussion would be the definition of development. If you read the report, it says Local Government Act defines development in various sections, and also from a legal perspective, the definition of development may be different from context to context. Therefore, in order to bring some clarity and consistency to this particular issue, it is probably pertinent to that Council expresses clear intention of what the meaning of development within this context is. But it can be inferred that Council intends to limit the definition of development to those that are subject to the zoning bylaw and the official community plan amendments. So it is beneficial from a staff perspective that Council provides further clarity on that. I also talk about public hearings. As you know, it is a legislative duty that in certain situations, local governments hold public hearings, and also provincial government through Bill 44 prohibited the local governments from holding a public hearing if a proposed zoning bylaw is consistent with the OCP in effect for the area. Where there's not consistency with the OCP, local government must hold a public hearing on the proposed zoning bylaw, including amendments to the bylaw. I also included the exact wording from the Local Government Act. In the report, you can find it on page 83. So in an effort to comply with the amendment made to the Local Government Act, and I will underline that it is not dissimilar to the several municipalities in Lower Mainland, Anmore Procedure Bylaw was updated, including 64B. There are two situations, two circumstances to consider in this section. One is when public hearing is permitted under the Local Government Act. At the public hearing, of course, all persons who believe that their interest in their property is affected by the proposed bylaw must be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. Further requirements also, there are some procedural requirements, also notices, delegation, and procedures after public hearing are also identified in the Act, and we're obviously bound by it. And the other one is when public hearings are not permitted, then the Act outlines the necessary steps to follow for when local governments are expected to issue notice. There are some requirements around that as well. So what Council is looking at as options tonight is, first of all, a definition of development appears to be necessary. And also part of this review, Council may want to identify procedural rules that will apply to the situations below for public input and questions to ensure fairness and transparency of the regular Council meetings. There are three situations. You can see it on page, all of them on page 85. Development applications that are subject to a public hearing, development applications that are that a public hearing is not permitted, and development applications that a public hearing is waived. So it would be beneficial to sort of provide a roadmap, a procedural guidance regarding when these situations arise, what is the procedural expectation. Alternatively, Council may pass a resolution to remove the Section 64B in its entirety. That's it for me. Awaiting for Council
So I
questions.
just want to read out a paragraph here. So back in, we've struggled with this as a council, and I know that the people in the audience have kind of have seen that as well. So this new regulation, so this is strictly, Ms. Elric actually sent a thing off to the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs in September 24th. And so this is what they said back, and I'll just read out, it's a couple sentences, which kind of gives some clear direction. Bill 44 has made changes to SWIFT away from site-by-site public hearings. Specifically, under the Local Government Act, 464 in brackets 3, a local government must not hold a public hearing if a proposed zoning bylaw or rezoning for a housing project is consistent with the official community plan. This includes projects where at least half the gross floor area is residential. This restriction on public hearings applies to all local governments, including Anmore. So this is what the new jurisdiction or the new bill in provincial government has dictated that we can and can't do. So that's clearly, and that's a quote right out of what they sent us and passed it on. So I'm going to pass this over to Councillor Weberink, who brought this forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disputing our right to have public hearings, and I'm not suggesting we break the rules, but I have not read anything definitive that says we can't have public question period, public comment period, public input on anything that's going on in the village. I think it hurt us. I think we've played it cautious. We followed best practices. And I know there's communities that don't have any public comment or any question period at the end of their meetings, just to keep the meeting short. I just want to change that. I would be in favor of abolishing 64B. Certainly for the remainder of this term, the next council can do whatever they want to do. Maybe we should discuss some guidelines about how we want to structure that. I'm open to that sort of discussion, but I want to allow the people to say what they want to say. And sometimes people just want to get up and say something, I don't like this development. I just don't like it. Okay, fine, noted. It doesn't even have to be a question. It could be, people just want to be heard. And that's what I've heard again and again and again, and I want to let people be heard. So that's my position.
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think that most councils in the Lower Mainland, I'm not sure outside of it, don't have public question period. And I've said quite publicly to anybody, if anybody has a question that they want asked, I'd be better off to do the research and be able to give them a better answer through an email or even meeting with me. I've never shied away from meeting with anybody. When there was a situation with the Anmore South regarding, we couldn't talk because a lot of even our words were taken out of context, and we had a legal letter saying that we weren't able to say anything further. because there's always two sides to every development, every proposal. You have the proponent and you have us. We're supposed to be independent. We're not supposed to give a decision on where we're heading. We're supposed to take all information in and process it then and give a decision at the end. So with that, I think the route that we should go is get, certainly pass this through our legal before we completely abolish it. And see and get a legal opinion brought on, but that's just my thoughts as well. Oh, Councillor Trowbridge, and I'll go to Councillor Richardson. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I could be in favor of
Kim, we're having a tough time hearing you. Hold on, we're just
okay.
test.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. I am unmuted.
I can't hear. Pardon me?
Testing 1 2.
Could you test? Kim, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine. I hear you. You can't hear me. I'm not muted.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I'm not muted at my end.
Do you have more than one device on right now?
No.
You're just through your iPad.
Yes.
Okay. While we're trying to figure, is the sound better? Sounds better? Okay.
Sounds perfect from here.
Can I move on to Councillor Richardson while we're trying to figure? Yeah.
You have no choice. Okay, so I'm in much more alignment with Councillor Reverink. I've never been a fan of 64B. I understand that other municipalities don't have question period or comments, but they're huge and it's burdensome and we're small. And this is actually one of the few ways we actually sort of engage with the people. I think people like to have their questions heard in a group because it brings them comfort or they get heard in a group and I don't know, it's part of the municipality. So I'm much more favor in removing it in its entirety. With that, I have some qualifications if, you know, legal comes back. So the entire purpose of that clause is to get around prohibited public hearings, so they can't happen when they're not allowed. So traditionally, you give something a second reading and it goes to a public hearing, okay? So I can see a possibility where we've given it a second reading, it's coming back for third reading, and then 150 people stand up and want to make comments prior to us giving third reading. That in some ways would be a de facto public hearing, right? This is on the comment portion only. So I would be okay with 64B being modified so that after second reading is given, that delegations and comments cannot be made on the thing that was given second reading, okay, or won't be considered. I don't think questions are the same thing. I think you should be able to ask your questions at all times, especially when things are unclear, because specifically in a public hearing, questions are banned. You can't ask a question, and there's always a need for clarifications. So I'm happy with what Paul proposed, we just remove it. If there's some sort of nuance that we have to give, I would do no delegations and no comments after something's been given second reading. So that's my thought on that.
Councillor Trowbridge, are you able to?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
No. Pardon me? Okay.
Oh, can't hear me?
I can't hear it. Can you put the mic by it, or?
Are we trying to figure something out?
Yeah, I think Lena is trying to figure it out right now, Councillor Trowbridge.
Oh, you can hear me?
Okay, so while people are trying to work it, I'm a little fuzzy on what we're actually trying to decide here. Are we making a motion to remove it entirely? Are we making a motion to have the procedure bylaw adjusted according to our thoughts? Or are we just taking this for information? It's a bit fuzzy, like John has suggested some legal advice. I'm not clear where we are and actually what we're making a decision on. Please.
So the recommendation that's been, I believe it's been moved and seconded, has been to receive for information. So I was going to amend it that it be received and vetted through our legal.
That needs to be moved and seconded.
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry, Ms. Elmer?
Can you hear me now?
Sorry, through the chair, I could ask Councillor Trowbridge to mute his mic, and I could get him on the phone, and then hold my phone up to the mic here and see if we have any success there. If you're able to do that, Councillor Trowbridge, I will call you on your cell phone right now.
Perfect. If not, I think we should just defer this until we have council here, as this decision is quite important and we just don't have.
I'm okay with the deferral, but I know it's important to the people, right? So if we keep deferring it, we're in the next election. And the hillside is going to show up at some point.
Can you hear me, Karen?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I don't have to just mute. I have to turn off my speaker, so I can't hear anyone talking.
So I have my phone, so I can prompt you if we need to.
All right, so am I able to say what I wish to say?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sort of on the Councillor Richardson Weverink wave, but with a slight modification. I haven't, quite often during question period, we have questions that are, matter of fact, most of them are technical in nature, and we end up having to take those questions away and respond to them at another time. And I think that's very frustrating for people. I would prefer to remove question period and replace it with public input on any business to do with the village. Not like the first input where it has to be on the agenda, just open input, 2 minutes per person for 20 minutes after the meeting. And then if there are questions, that's something that we're open to at any time, like Mayor McEwen said. I mean, anybody can ask questions at the village hall, email, whatever. But I really think people want to speak their minds and want us to hear them and want to do it in public. And I'm quite in favor of that. So I guess in summary, I'd say I'd replace question period with public input, not restricted to the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Weberink.
I agree with that. I think that's the most important thing, that people want to be heard. And I think the questions, I think we got too wrapped up in questions that we couldn't answer. I mean, it is supposed to be all council question periods or questions to council. And I know a lot of it would go through staff, and unfortunately, Mayor McEwen, you're the chair, you probably have to just say, look, that's a staff question. Reach out to staff tomorrow or they'll get you an answer. It should be council. It's to address council. So, and if people just want to make a statement, I'm here to listen. If they want to ask a question and it's a simple question that we can answer, then I'm fine with that too. But if it's complicated, then it may have to be deferred.
Councillor Trowbridge, are you able to hear us there?
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to try my mic again.
I'm certainly in favor of that. Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
a good compromise.
And if I may, I'm tired of vetting things through lawyers. I'm willing to take the risk. I want to get this done. I'm tired of talking about it. This needs to get done soon.
Councillor Richardson.
So on that, I still think questions are very valuable. I think they can be probably better monitored, disseminated to either staff or things will come back in the future. I think that can be explained to people, and I think they'll understand that they won't necessarily get an answer right away. And some questions are definitely for council, and some questions are definitely for staff, but that can be designated. So I'm reluctant to lose public question period.
If I may, I think input would include questions. It's input. It's whatever you want to say. If it's a question, if it's a comment, if you just want to rant about something. If there's rules, and I think I like the 20-minute limit on questions, so it keeps council meetings from going till midnight. So I think it's a great compromise. I would be supportive of that if we could write that into a resolution and maybe amend our resolution.
We'd have to amend the resolution.
Yeah. Should we pull the original resolution off the table and just completely write a new
Let
one?
me reread the new one. The memo dated January 30th, 2026, titled Anmore Procedure Bylaw Amendment Options for the Manager of Corporate Services be received for information. We could also then just add to it.
Okay.
And that the public question period be transferred or
Renamed.
be renamed public input and allow any information regarding council business or village business, and with a 20-minute time frame.
Total time frame with a 2-minute time limit on each speaker.
Essen, has that?
Certainly. We just need to vote on the amendment first, and then we can vote on the amended motion as a whole.
Okay.
So one thing at a time.
Do you want to put together an amendment so that?
Absolutely.
proper
So
rather than-
amendment would be, because there are notification requirements when it comes to procedure bylaw. So the next meeting, I can bring the changes requested and then give the notifications as required. So the amendment would read: staff be directed to bring an amendment to the procedure bylaw by changing the public input period at the end of the meetings to, public question period at the end of the meetings to a public input period, limited by 20 minutes. Does
But
that make sense?
you should add, which could encompass all village business.
Okay, which could
And a 2-minute time limit per speaker.
encompass whole village business, limited to 2 minutes per person and 20 minutes in total. I can read it again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Hold on, Councillor Trowbridge, can you hear what okay,
All
please,
good?
yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Amendment is: staff be directed to bring an amendment to the procedure bylaw by changing the public question period at the end of the meetings to a public input period, which could encompass whole village business, limited to 2 minutes per person and 20 minutes in total.
Someone to move the
I'll move
amendment?
that.
Moved? Second? Any further discussion? Councillor Richardson.
What's unclear for me, are you amending the clause that's up and early on in the procedure bylaw, and what happens to 64B with that statement? Because what I just heard is 64B stays in its entirety. Is that correct?
If it's council's will to remove 64B in its entirety, I can get another amendment.
Okay,
as
so
well.
I think I would like to amend that 64B is removed in its entirety.
Okay.
And replace.
Please.
We could
Okay.
make another,
Yeah.
just add on to it.
We're putting Essence through her paces.
Yes, we are. Getting our money's worth.
Okay. Reading it again. 64B removed, section 64B removed in its entirety, and staff be directed to bring an amendment to the procedure bylaw by changing the public question period at the end of the meetings to a public input period, which could encompass whole village business, limited to 2 minutes per person and 20 minutes in total. That's the amendment.
Good.
Perfect.
Could I get someone to move the amendment?
I'll move
As
that.
written. Moved? Seconded? Any further discussion? Is Councillor Trowbridge fine? Yeah, okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Essen. Okay, we'll now move on to 11B, Dr. Hal Weinberg Spirit Park Project Update. Before we get the recommendation on, Mr. Boyd, and were you able to get the information? I'll ask these questions later. Yeah. Okay. So if you could take us through the report. Okay.
All right. Okay, so the purpose of this report is to give Council an update on the proposed expansion and upgrade of Hal Weinberg Spirit Park and to seek direction on proceeding to the detailed design.
Thank you.
Okay. So to date, we've got an update on the community engagement event that was held in beginning of January. Some key themes from the community event, potential funding options, accessibility and inclusivity within the park, phasing of the project, and then some council considerations as we move forward. Oh, sorry. Let me go back one. Okay, so we've had multiple phases of community engagement all the way through a number in community events. The ones held in January were to do with more targeted events. They were with our committees within the village, and then the surrounding residents of the park. Those were the focuses of the two engagements. The feedback was collected in person via Lucy Key, and we did have a few online or emails presented to Lucy Key as well. Generally, there was strong support for the recreational amenities, and then, as I mentioned earlier, committees and neighbourhood residents were consulted. Okay, during the event, we presented two options that were created. First was option one, which was presented to council previously in the report back in November. And then we also had taken on consideration of, consideration of council input at that November meeting, and we created option two based on that input for the community to look at and provide feedback on additionally. These are in front of you. Okay, so generally in the event, participants were asked to review, compare, and provide feedback on both options, identify preferred elements, and the concerns and opportunities for refinement as we move forward. As I said earlier, there was strong support for the park upgrade in itself. It was confirmed the Spirit Park is viewed as a critical multi-generational and should be multi-use community asset. The general strong support for it was the open lawn, inclusive playground as primary park features, desire to preserve and restore forested areas and wildlife corridors, broad support for a covered pavilion, a flexible event space, recognition that parking is necessary for events, preference for low-level pedestrian scaled lighting, and interest in flexible and phased recreational features. There was generally a strong preference towards option one. Okay, the reasons for the strong preferences for option one was best to balance safety, accessibility, environmental considerations, and overall park functionality. Okay, so the workshops were taken into over 2 nights. Workshop one were the committees. The main focus for the committees, or points raised, were safety and accessibility are crucial, lighting pathways and parking, open lawn and playground, central community use. The pump track flexibility supports community engagement before the final design. I'll just go into that a little bit. Talker were actually present at that committee meeting. They just kind of were talking about perhaps that they could have some more input in the actual design of the pump track prior to proceeding to design. Multi-age and multi-use spaces prioritized, so pavilion, trails, and senior equipment, inclusive in playgrounds. And then community feedback shapes placement and features, including cultural elements like the fairy magic tree. I'll just elaborate a little on the fairy magic tree. This was something that came up through the committee, that an old fairy garden place had been removed from the village, and they're looking for another opportunity to establish a new one. Okay, the residents workshop. The key takeaways from workshop 2 were community prioritizes natural areas, wildlife preservation, and safe recreation. Res is one inclusive, accessible spaces with gardens, covered structures, and educational opportunities, a review of the Ravenswood location, parking and traffic are critical considerations, but should balance the parkland and environmental preservation, and then cultural and historical elements are important, adjustments needed to preserve heritage while maintaining functionality. That was in relation to the gazebo, and there was a strong desire with the gazebo to maintain it because it had some heritage cultural pieces towards it. There's an extensive review completed by Lucy Key within the report that put together all the considerations that were in through the community engagement event. Next one, we did talk within the workshops about potential phasing of the project in case funding wasn't available to complete all of it in one go. Generally, there was support for phase one, which is the core park infrastructure, which was the open lawn and associated grading and drainage improvements. The second piece was inclusive playground, and the primary walking pathways, and the park lot improvements required to support daily and event use. Phase two was community gathering and event spaces, such as the pavilion and plaza areas, seating and furnishing and supporting infrastructure. And then lastly, the recreation and restoration elements, so such as the pump track and forest reforestation and supplemental programming features surrounding that area. Some considerations for council. The schedule, if council wishes to proceed, it'll take roughly 8 weeks to complete a detailed design. Tendering will take an approximate 4 weeks, and then typically it takes us about 2 weeks to provide the award. We would come back to council prior to any award of this nature, and then depending on the scope of the work to proceed, it would take approximately 6 to 9 months to complete the work. There's comprehensive review of the finances within the report, but generally the estimated cost is roughly 2.9 million. That doesn't include any contingency funds currently. The current potential funding that the village does have secured already via grants and other reserve funds is approximately 1.6 million. It's important to note that the cost for realigning Ravenswood would not be required to be taken out of the 2.9 million, as the village has already allocated $350,000 from the building community funds. Noted it'd be prudent to take contingency fund of roughly 20% if the village wishes to proceed. Based on all this information, it means that the project is currently underfunded approximately by 1.9 million if the village wished to proceed to complete the design from its entirety. So just a few things. For council to consider as we go through. So there was strong support from the engagement events. The next piece was, do council wish to see a third option? If so, what additions and modifications do council wish to see? This is in relation to council provided a resolution to staff to produce a third option in going forward. So we've produced 2 options so far. So if council wish to have a third option, they provide staff some thoughts on what they would like to see in the third option. And funding options for the project, again mentioned there's shortfall in the funds currently, but could be drawn from reserves depending on how council wish to proceed. And then finally, do council wish to proceed with the project at all? So I can put the recommendation on the table for discussion.
You may tweak it a little bit. If I could just get a little bit of clarity from you, Mr. Boyd. I just wanted to clarify. So the realignment of Ravenswood has already been budgeted and accounted for outside of this project.
Correct. So when we show 2.9 million,
Yeah.
there is an additional $350,000 on top of that that has already been allocated for Ravenswood.
So the exiting on Sunnyside and the safety component of it.
Yep.
So have you done a traffic engineering?
Yeah, so this is a concept design. We've done the prelim analysis to
Yep.
suggest that roughly the alignment is correct. However, the residents were asking for some other additional reviews, which would be conducted during the detailed design phase.
Okay, so you're not too worried about any issues?
No, there were some good comments made during the engagement event to review. One of them is some of the locations of the driveways opposite it, if there could be some tweaks and what have you. So I think there is opportunity to perhaps amend maybe where it exited out onto East Road. But again, we don't want to drastically change it because we're trying to ensure that the park feels like a cohesive parcel of land. So that's the whole premise of moving Ravenswood down.
And I think it's important to note that the current safety aspect of this S-turn is not strong right now. We had a couple accidents this last summer. I travel there very frequently, and when you get an Amazon driver coming down there or a DHL, it's not good.
Yeah, that was discussed at the event
Yeah.
as well.
The pedestrian crossings. So I think that is something as well that can be altered in the design. I think it does bring up a good point. Okay, concerns about the amount of grass in the park. I don't, when we actually took all that scrub out and seeded it, I don't recall it being the price tag. Do you know what it costs to maintain?
I don't. That would be an
Yeah.
operations
Okay,
question. I mean,
okay.
how I respond maybe to that is staff already own and
Mowing.
operate the
Yeah.
existing grassland there. There would likely be an irrigation system associated with this
Yeah.
lawn
Yeah.
system to help minimize operational costs. But
Okay.
the main operational cost of the lawn would be cutting it quite significantly during the summer events.
And then page 131 regarding the flooding.
Yeah.
And then the flooding, and then all the pricing for drainage.
Yeah, so that would be, we discussed that during the event, that the resident brought up concerns of current flow paths going through that end of the village.
Okay.
That would definitely be something that would be considered during the design phase, and ensuring that any water that is on municipal land stays on municipal land. It doesn't discharge off to private land. So for sure that consideration would be sought after. I'd just like to point out on that note, Mayor McEwen, that the funding or the pricing that's shown within the report, this is conceptual funding. It doesn't include every single component, right? The high level kind of cost associations to give us a rough budget.
Well, and these are also estimates in regards to once we put them out to RFP as well. I know council has some questions. Do you want me to continue or I've been a big proponent of this, getting Ravenswood put straight out. The reason it wasn't initially put straight out was in essence because a community center daycare was supposed to be built there. But this will certainly lessen the safety aspect. Even for people walking by along there, it's pretty bad. I think that there has to be a bit of a hybrid between the two maps that you have. I think, because I drive down Ravenswood, well, at least 50% of the time when I'm leaving my house, the rest is down Hemlock, and parking is a big issue on Ravenswood. Now we have two roundabouts that actually can facilitate parking quite well for residents, but now with the fact with Bill 44 and the effect that it's going to have on our community, Ravenswood had a covenant in it that they weren't supposed to have suites when it was built, so just so everybody's aware. That now has been trumped by Bill 44, so those houses can have suites as long as they adhere. So we're going to have more cars dealing with in Ravenswood, I think, over the time, so we need more parking. So I like the parking on the southern portion there, which would be on page 123. I don't know if we need that much, but I think this parking, if there was even like 8 or 10 stalls to be able to facilitate the homes sort of, I'm going to say on the eastern end of Ravenswood, and then I think the two bulbs would handle the other end of the street. I did talk to a gentleman from Torca, and he said regarding the pump track, they want to kind of evolve that as a community thing. So I'm not going to be in favor of moving any of that forward at this point in time, just like I'm definitely not in favor of moving the gazebo. I think it is very much a heritage aspect to it, and I think where it sits quite well. We've had, since I've been here for 26 years or whatever, there's been a lot of different events, and they seem to function very well under the gazebo. I think the gazebo needs a little bit of love at some point in time, but it was the residents that built it in a group, and they did an amazing job with it. So I have no plans on that. So to me, the big three things are the parking for the hub. I think we need, from what I've heard, we need a minimum of 50 to 60 spots, 50 to 80 spots even. And I don't think that would infringe much on the park, because we have the existing Ravenswood where the mailboxes are, if we doubled that up. And that also would facilitate what we used to have here many moons ago. We used to have a few farmers markets that used to come up here when Tracy Green was involved, and she used to host them here, which would be great for the parking lot, as well as when we start getting into more and more events, to be able to have food trucks out there and such. I also think in the summer there could be an opportunity for a revenue generation that we could sell for non-resident parking, $10 or $20 for the day, which would generate a bunch of income, I think, as well, because a lot of people park their vehicles there and then take the bus into Bunsen Lake. So I think there could be a good revenue generation there. And I also think that we need to, where the gazebo is right now and south past where the septic was put in, is to grade that out. We had talked about that. Anybody who comes to events here will realize how boggy that is up there. That septic system that's at the north, or that at this end, is no longer in use because it all got transferred down. So that needs to be all graded out. We talked about that. We also have approval from Fortis to be able to build up, I think, 3 feet on top of their high pressure gas line, which we've done all that work already as well. So my adage would be to do the grading, putting, of course, in the landscaping and electrical as well, to do the realignment of Ravenswood Drive, and then to do the parking would be my things on that. And just throwing some ballpark numbers out, I figured it out here. We'd be looking at the lawn or the grading and drainage with electrical, and that comes to about $1,076,000. The parking you have down at about 510,000. That takes us to 1.5. And then, of course, the Ravenswood, which I put at 400,000, if we add a few parking spots to that south of that, brings us at under $2 million, which is what is right now from the, I believe was the budgeted, 1.6, but that didn't include the Ravenswood. So I figured we're fairly close to be on budget. Now, this would be subject to change, that we could add a few things into this depending on what the tenures come back. But those would be the 3 big things that I think, and I'd like to get moving on at this point in time. Does that make sense to you, Mr. Boyd? No, I just wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that
Okay.
could be considered during the phase, and I think that's consistent with what the committees had talked about if we were
Okay.
going to phase this project
Okay.
in those terms.
Open up to Council.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. I think the parking is absolutely necessary. We need it for the hub. I agree, don't move the gazebo. That's just really a waste of money. I certainly don't think there's too much lawn. I think there's actually less than what we may have now. So I like that. And I'm going to assume that, you guys are an engineering company. You're going to do a safe connection to Sunnyside Road. So I have confidence in that. There's people that sign off. I am concerned about the budget for everything. 2 things I'd kind of like to add. If we are going to phase this, I would like to see all these trees planted. Trees take a long time to grow. We're going to have to find the money to replant. And, we can accommodate the pump track if it's going to be a community initiative. I love that idea. Torca will organize and get that done. And then the only thing we're not discussing, and maybe it's not for this meeting or for this project, but finishing the path on Sunnyside, the multi-use path. I think there's a real opportunity to finish that path and then put overflow parking along the side of the road where the ditch is right now. People would just walk up that path, cross Sunnyside into the park, and that provides our sort of overflow event parking. I'm not sure if I'm in favor of the extra parking lot for Ravenswood. I wouldn't want to see people in suites parking there overnight. I think that should be accommodated more on the properties. There's half-acre lots. There should be adequate space for parking on a lot if somebody wants to put in a suite. So I'm a little less concerned about that. And I think that's about it.
I'll go to Councillor Richardson, and then I'll ask Councillor Trowbridge if you have any comment.
So I'm going to say I'm in general agreement with the Mayor and Councillor Weberink. I like the phased approach. I'm very budget conscious. I think the most important thing is getting the grass to a state that it's actually grass and people want to hang out on it, rather than the clumpy whatever it is currently, which almost is a tripping hazard. I don't believe in the pavilion at all, at least for probably the next decade to 20 years. And the 25 years that I've been here, I've never seen the gazebo overflowed. Whatever we want to do outside, there seems to be enough. We now have the pavilion, not the pavilion, the plaza there, and we have this facility, which in my opinion is probably underused. So if people need inside, I don't think we have to build another expensive structure out there. I question the pump track. I understand the joy of them, but I don't know actually how many people get a benefit of that. Is it like 2% of the population or 1%? I know Coquitlam It's on the other side of Port Coquitlam. They put a temporary one over on Pipeline there for a while. I don't know if that was well used or not well used, and if it's still there. Because I'm very budget conscious, like I see, hundreds of $1,000s for trees, I would just get a tree planter in and plunk them into the ground. And okay, yeah, it'll take another 5 years, but whether you want a 100-year-old tree or a 105-year-old tree in 100 years, I don't think any of us will be around anyway. So I don't think we should do overboard with reforestation on, to save 5 years of growth or something along those lines. I think we can probably do it, and I would probably try and do that in conjunction with like the hatchery or something like that for some ecological study benefit or something along those lines. But and with Ravenswood, I would like to take it right against the house and right down so that the park is continuous as possible. But I don't think that works safety-wise. So there's my comments. But phasing, yes. Grass first. Pavilion, no. Pump truck, maybe. But there has to be a justification for it. Yes, I know Torca would like it and some kids would like it, but is it 5 kids or whatever? Because I hate seeing things built and then they just sit there empty and they have to be maintained.
Good, thank you. Councillor Trowbridge.
Can you hear me if I unmute?
I think we're going to have to go back to the phone.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just going to put you on the mic now. Sure. Councillor Trowbridge just wanted me to relay that he is in agreement with Councillor Wavering's comments.
Which was what I... Oh, okay. I guess the only thing other than no parking along, the extra parking along Ravenswood. Do you want me to go through? Why don't I do the whole thing that everybody has spoken? Is that all right? So, okay. So the number one priority is the extension of Ravenswood, which has already been budgeted for, which is about $390,000. The second focus would be to add the additional parking. And again, it would be good if we can get, we need about 60 to 80 stalls, I think, Mr. Boyd. Annette. Then the third aspect of the plan, or the third concept of the plan would be to do the grading from the existing gazebo down there to flatten it all out as we had been designed before. Now I guess the one question I had was on item 11B or on page 253, they had an extensive parking lot here. I'm not thinking that, I'm just thinking sort of maybe parking along the side of the lower portion of that road that would facilitate like 6 to 8 cars. Yeah.
Sorry, I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, okay.
If I may, if I can perhaps help with a recommendation, so I got clear direction to come
Okay.
forward. It sounds like we want a third option to be brought back to council. Is that
No, I
correct?
think we can,
No?
no, this is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I make a recommendation that I bring another concept design with what you've talked about tonight to make sure that we don't proceed to detailed design with miscommunication?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
So here's what I've kind of marked down. Hopefully Ms. Essen doesn't shoot me for taking a job of creating a recommendation. Okay, so the recommendation maybe on the table is the council received the report dated January 30th, 2026, titled Dr. Hal Weinberg Spirit Park Project Update for information, and the council directs staff to complete a third option with the following elements included: the grading in the lawn area, expanded parallel parking along Ravenswood, and the parking lot to have between 50 and 80 parking stalls.
And look at some replanting as well.
And replanting, and don't move the gazebo. Leave the gazebo.
Don't move the gazebo. Okay.
Okay.
I'll move that.
Okay, sorry, before you move it, and then one final piece is, if council wish, council directs staff to phase the project to spend up to $2 million
Yeah.
for Spirit Park, and that
And that includes Ravenswood.
that includes yeah, okay, and to include Ravenswood. Okay. Perhaps I would leave off the last piece here regarding updating the 5-year financial plan. Perhaps we can do that when I come back with the third option to do that based on those reworked numbers. Okay.
Good. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We're on to 11C 2026 Anmore grant requests. Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are here to seek direction from Council regarding the approval of the Community Grant Program for 2026. Currently, the grant budget is $7,000, and we have received a total combination of $16,937 in requests from 9 applicants. If council would like to go through the applications and decide which they would prefer to discuss.
I will just say, if any conversation about the Anmore Youth Group comes up, I will be recusing myself, as my wife is part of with Susan Mukel in regards to the organization of it. So if there's any conversation about that, I will recuse myself. I calculated out, if we take the FreshNet News out of $10,000, it comes to $6,937, which is within our $7,000 budget. So.
Yes, and they're a commercial entity as well.
Okay. Yeah.
If we can put that as a resolution, I would agree with that. I think that solves the problem. I think a $10,000 ask is a bit much.
Councillor Richardson, do you want to second that, or?
Well, then, should we discuss it? Sure, I'll second that
Okay.
discussion.
For discussion, Councillor Richardson.
I completely agree. I tried to follow FreshNet News and looked up their budget, and they got a lot of numbers in that column, but they don't add up to the thing at the bottom, and I can't tell which ones are positive and negative. And it made no sense to me whatsoever. I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't think we should fund it. I'm okay with everything else, except some of them seem to be getting more and more expensive. There's one thing that, like, I never see any presence in Anmore at all, which is Sierra. Like, I agree with giving them the 437. I think their mandate is great, but, you know, does it actually affect Anmore? It's not entirely clear to me. I tried to follow the links on the Friendly Forest preschool to see what card stock they're buying, because I was a bit shocked at the costs. And it's a very weird one for me. Like, last year it was commercial dishwasher or commercial dryer or something like that, and now it's expensive art supplies. I don't think it should go to $1,500. I don't think they should get an increase from what we've traditionally given them. In fact, my indication would be to chop it down to like $1,000 and divvy up whatever money saved other places. Like, I'm big on equipment search and rescue. Like, get them 2 drones. Like, if we're gonna have money to give out. So that's my thought on all those. Everything else I quite like. Dry grad, yes. Youth group, yes. Search and rescue, yes. Garden club, scouts, yep. I like all these things, except for the news, and there's too much money in my opinion, to Friendly Forest.
I'll come back to you and see if you want to do an amendment. I'll just see if it rests with council. Councillor Weber, do you want to?
I'm happy with everything I see here except for the FreshNet News.
Okay.
So I think we're all pretty close.
Councillor Trowbridge?
The news.
I think he's in favor. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, so do you want to make an amendment on that, Councillor?
Yeah, like I would amend Friendly Forest down to $1,000. Like I know it's only $500, but it's $500. Like we discussed, $300 for a hotel. That's almost 2 nights in a hotel. So, you know, but that's me. Like my goal is, spend other people's money more carefully than I spend my own money. Like there's no trains on here, so I'm quite frugal. So, that would be my amendment. Is
Do we have a seconder for that amendment?
I'll second it, and I want to divert that $500 to Councillor Richardson's train fund.
In all seriousness, are you seconding it?
I will second that.
Okay. So we have a vote on the amendment, which is to reduce the Friendly Forest preschool from $1,500 down to $1,000 is the amendment. It's been moved and seconded. Does Councillor Trowbridge have anything to say? Okay, so I'll call the question. All those in favor of the reduction? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, with that being said, then we're taking $500 off the budget, so the total budget would be $6,437, which is the original one. So can I ask, and it's been moved and seconded, but it's just been amended down to $6,437. So it's been, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, is that everything, Ms. Martin? You got everything you needed from that? Okay. Mayor's report. Just got a couple of things. This past Saturday was the official grand opening of the Trails Coffee at the Hub. It's now opened officially. Heard there was I talked to both of the owners, and good turnout on the weekend and that. So I'm not sure exactly what their hours and days of service are going to be, but it's certainly very popular. I can also tell you that the RFP is still being prepared for the 2 new fire halls. Design considerations will be coming forward to the trustee meetings in the coming months, and that'll adjust, if there's going to be sleeping quarters in it, what sort of the extra service levels that we can provide in there. And then the last thing is hearing a lot from residents about concern and confusion being held about the OCP and the update that just happened the other night. I just want to confirm with our planner that the legislative requirements for Anmore being rural designated is just simply the suites, is it not? That's the only legislative requirements.
Are you saying what's the requirement for Bill 44?
Yeah.
Is it just the suites?
Just the suites?
So secondary suites for the Bill 44 in terms of the small scale multi-housing.
Yeah.
Other requirements, such as the housing needs report, were done, and
Yeah.
then alignment with the housing needs and the OCP update, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Okay.
Sorry,
open up to-
regional growth strategy as well, but that's not the housing needs. That's
Yeah, just Bill 44 is just predominantly with us was just the suite. So, council reports. Councilor Weber.
I just want to mention that I went into Trails Coffee. I bought a hat. I highly recommend everybody go in there, spend your money, support our local business. I think it's a great little coffee shop. I'm so happy. I've been wanting something like this for a long time. And it's just beautiful. And the space looks 10 times as big as it did when it was empty. So it's an amazing little place. So check it out.
Councilor Richardson.
Yeah, so I briefly went to the open house for the OCP update, and I get the same questions from everybody pretty much all the time, which is there's perception that there's an increase in density in the OCP. I don't think that's true. I have numbers to prove it. We should probably clarify that. So if you have any concerns, come to me. I've done it in the IGA parking lot. I've done it on the trails. I've done it everywhere. I've done it on text. So I've got it ready if you would like questions on that. Anyway.
Good. Don't see Councilor Trowbridge, no. Okay. Chief Administrative Officer's report.
Thank you. So the OCP update open house, as was previously mentioned, was held last week and was reasonably well attended. We had 71 attendees, so thanks for everybody coming out to that. Additionally, there is still an opportunity to provide any comments that you would like to until the February 15th, and those can be emailed off to Mr. Joseph, and his email address is on the website, or you can call Village Hall if you need to get information regarding that. And I also wanted to mention that this Friday night from 6 to 8 p.m., the Anmore Youth Group is putting on bingo, so hope that folks will join in for that.
Good. We have a couple information items. I'll now open up to public question period. Public is permitted to ask question counts regarding any item pertaining to village business. 2-minute time limit applies to speakers.
Hello, everyone. Microphone on?
I can't hear you, sorry.
I think you turned it on.
There you go, yeah.
Lisa Johnston, 180 Hemlock. Thanks for allowing me to come up here tonight. My question is for you, Mayor. Psst, psst. Our little village is growing. New fire hall potentially, big hub, Spirit Park, we're spending money. So this is directly at the mayor, testing your memory. At the 2022 All Candidates meeting, you stated that Anmore needed housing opportunities that allow young families to move into the community and enable aging residents to age in place. And I believe many of the residents share those goals. You've also said that change is inevitable, and you've spoken publicly about the challenges of large-scale family homes on 1-acre lots, stating, and I quote, "We don't need any more $5 and $6 million homes here," noting that this form of development does not meet village long-term needs or financial sustainability. So in recent years, residents have seen two major development proposals emerge. The Anmore South proposal has since been withdrawn. The Pinnacle Ridge Hillside proposal remains under consideration. As a resident trying to understand the direction of our community, what remains unclear to me is how you, Mayor McEwen, your stated vision, how does that translate into actual built-form housing? So to help myself and residents complete the picture, can you please be specific about the type of development you believe fulfills the goals you articulated in 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, great question. I think it's a question I can't really answer in 2 minutes, but I'll give you a brief overview.
Thank you.
You know, when we did the carriage house, increase the size of the carriage houses, that was a big deal. You know, because initially all carriage houses on an acre were about 1,080 square feet. Not quite big enough. I had initially built on my property, and it just wasn't, and lived in actually one for a year, and it just wasn't big enough for families. So when this council kind of switched that and made them bigger according to the lot size, I thought that was a real key component. The suites, adding the suites, which was added through Bill 44, actually kind of picked up on that a little bit. You know, I've always been of the adage of I look at the communities that are in our community, and you know, Lisa, back in 2014, I was, I guess, one of the only ones here that did the OCP, and during that time, there was a big outright. I don't know if you even lived here at that, or you
Yes.
did, yeah,
Yeah.
which was getting rid of duplexes, because duplexes turned into fourplexes. And we clearly took that out of the OCP. The Mayor, Heather Anderson, was just like, no, I don't want any more of these. And everybody kind of jumped along on it. So with that, you know, you had to kind of work with what we were given in the OCP. And what we really identified was where the neighborhoods that were really growing well was the Birchwine neighborhood, like on 1/4 acre lots, and how that did. But how do you limit the size of the houses on those lots? Because now with the new building code, basements can be added to it without even allowable square footage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some challenges that we have. You know, I look at some of the communities that I think are amazing. Countryside. Unfortunately, previous councils didn't put the infrastructure in there properly to facilitate what was in there. And again, with it being a strata, we have limitations there. But I look at, you know, with the school, and especially the enrollments in the school, it's one of the things I've really noticed, as well as aging in place, where most of the kids now are growing up in those smaller places. Because again, a 1 acre estate, you know, what is that, 3 million? You're in real estate. What is a 1 acre estate now worth?
Well, that's my question to you is it's great that we have the infill and we have the basement suites and that accommodates people that are already residents in Anmore. You know, I have a home, I can
But
build
you're
a
not
suite.
listening to me when
How
I
do
said
we
the
encourage more
quarter
people?
acre is really where I think we need to go.
Sorry?
The quarter acre is where we need to go.
Quarter acre.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would allow smaller homes like 25 square foot, 2,500 square foot homes on a small lot.
Well,
Would you consider duplexes? Would you consider townhomes?
you know, maybe I would wait to see what the community had to say regarding duplexes now. You know, things have changed. That was
Yeah.
10 years ago. You know, the interesting thing is that we've done 2 OCP amendments. We did one for when we had to hook up Anmore Green Estates to the sewer, and we did another one when we did infill. Nobody even mentioned a word about updating our OCP. With what happened down
Was
in
that an option actually though? Like, was that something put out to the public? Hey, we're here updating, or
Yeah,
I mean,
we
Anmore
had-
Green, you had to do for septic.
we
It wasn't
had
a community.
we had open meetings saying, you know, this is all we're going to be doing. There was no comment about anything. You know, I always visioned Anmore South to be maybe that missing middle is what we're talking about as well, because it wasn't, you know, we had specifically, right from Hal Weinberg when he was mayor, made it out that that was a special study area. He said specifically, we want the developer to come to us with something special. You know, again, to bring in those services was an economic exercise.
Yeah.
That they needed to get a certain rate of return. Again, I don't know what, you know, and then it was pulled. So I do think there would have been an option down in Anmore South too, but that didn't come to fruition.
Do you know if
and I
they're
also
coming
don't
back?
know.
Have you heard? Are they coming back? Do you have any inkling of what they could
I
be coming
have
back with?
absolutely nothing.
No?
No
Okay.
clue. So, you know, so I think there was some options there. You know, regarding the hillside, if you were asking me about the hillside, that to me isn't going to be missing middle. You know, you look at what the
Sorry,
FA.
it is or is not?
It's not, because you look at the FAR on them, and they're huge places.
What
So
about
they're-
duplexes up there though? What about townhomes with basement suites?
Well, if you're
They're
still
small.
getting a 0.6 FAR, that's pretty considerable size. And then again, with communal septics, and I've been very right from the very get-go.
I know you don't like
Yeah.
septic. We know that.
No, I like septic. I don't
You
like.
don't like communal septic.
I
we
don't
know
like
that.
communal septics because I think there's no ownership. You know, it's different than if you have a 1 acre estate with a carriage house and a suite. You still have one owner.
Yeah.
So,
So is there, the only thing we have on the table right now is Hillside, and more south is, who knows? What could Hillside do to appease you, or how can we make more Birchwood communities? Right?
We're going through a process. So anyway, if you
Okay,
want to
thank you.
discuss it further, that'd be great. Thank.
Can I just make one comment about the open question? I love what you're saying, and I appreciate that you say you're always open to questions by email, stop for coffee, and so forth. I feel having it in public like this, there are a lot of people that have the same questions, and so they just want to hear the answer, and that's why we like it publicly rather than emailing you, right? It gives everybody the chance to hear.
I'm sorry, you were talking, I didn't hear a word you said at the end there.
The public questions, how you always say you're open for us to come and email you our questions, and I appreciate that. But there is a consensus that we like to ask the questions because we all have a similar question, and if we ask it publicly, we can all hear that answer, rather than just one person emailing you the question and you replying to one person. The rest of the village doesn't have that response to that question. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know, I've got a standing offer on Friday afternoons for coffee with the mayor, which often you can come with a group of people.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah, nobody's.
Lovely.
It normally gets booked, so it hasn't been booked in a long time. So
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Any other? Oh, Mike, you're next.
I definitely would like to take up Councillor Richardson's offer on, oh, sorry, it's Rainey Coupel, 1017 Ravenswood Drive. We've been trying to decipher the changes on the OCP, and we have some pretty bright minds that have been reviewing it, and we have sort of a difference of opinion about, like, for example, the added density. We definitely would like to have a meeting with you to explain it to us. You know, probably be a group of us that would like to sit with you, and I know you've allowed that in the past. But I differ on all my research to date. The OCP, the changes, it appears to me that it's greater than just housekeeping. It appears to me like it will open up more density in different parts of Anmore. So we definitely look forward to talking to you about that.
Good. So,
Sorry, thank you, through the mayor. If I can add to that, if you would like to reach out to staff, Mr. Joseph is working on that OCP amendment, as well as our planning consultant, Mr. Tim Savoy, and they would be happy to answer questions or have conversation with you as well.
I've got Mike.
I believe we have reached out and were rejected. So now that it's public, we'll definitely take you up on that offer.
Mike, do you want to? Thank you.
Do I have to say my name again? Mike, 2555 Sunnyside. I've reached out to him. He's answered all my questions. Thank you very much. But with the OCP, what I couldn't understand was on a 20 plus slope, you're allowed, or you want to change it to 4.5 units per acre. And on less than 20%, it's 3.5. Now, to me, flatland is easier to build on and expand on than cliffs. So why would it be that you get 4.5 on plus 20 slope and 3.5 on minus 20 slope?
I can't answer that.
Yeah, somebody might answer that, or you can always, my email address.
Mike, I'll just tell you from.
It was just, it's kind of weird.
So when the OCP was drafted, the specific thing here is that we don't want to be adding construction onto steep slope. So therefore, if you read the OCP very clearly, it says 1.8 clustering, and that's to be able to put the housing up on top so that you're not on the slope. And I think on the hillside there is a no-go zone of anything above 30% as well. So just so you're aware that's what it was. We don't want the developments on hillsides.
But in the OCP, you're saying, or the new OCP, you're saying 4.5 units per acre on plus
I would
20%.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring it up.
Okay, and also parking on Ravenswood, you're saying because of suites. If you look at bylaws in other municipalities, if you want to put a suite in, you have to provide parking in your lot yourself. And I think that kind of bylaw should be maybe put up here too, so you provide your own parking.
Yeah, the biggest challenge though, Mike, is the fact that when Ravenswood was designed, and I think I saw Darren, Mr. Smurthwaite walk in here, who knows the design, it was really specific about the amount of parking that was actually built on each one of those units to be able to limit it. There's not suites in there right now, and there's an issue with parking quite often when anybody has a function on the week. I just was hoping that we could do something at this end to be able, so that we don't have those two cars and people parking on the sidewalks, which they seem to want to complain to me and take pictures and send me pictures all the time when somebody's parking on it. There's also, we may have to look down the road of filling in that ditch as well to be able to facilitate parking as well. But I just, like I said, we're trying to fix safety issues along Ravenswood right now, but, it was very specific. And also, a lot of those front yards have septics in them, so you can't, you shouldn't be putting parking on them. So there is some challenges there, and we're trying to work with everybody the best we can.
And just to clarify, with the parking you were talking about here,
Yeah.
is that going with option number 1, but a few car parking on the street? Is that?
No, it's more the second option that has we need about 80 stalls there to be able to facilitate events and stuff.
When it went through all the meetings, option 1 was preferred because people wanted a wildlife corridor there, and now it's being amended, and we're going to go with option number 2.
Well, we'll look. We'll be able to facilitate.
It's just kinda weird, yeah,
Quite
so
often
that's-
I've been sitting here and the deer just walk right down through there anyway. So
Yeah, I know. Well,
yeah,
that was one of the things.
thanks.
I'm so sorry not to interrupt you in any way. Can we please get a motion to extend the public question period, because we have 1 minute left?
Sure. Motion. Yeah, move. Yeah. Sorry, I rambled on a bit.
No, that's okay. We just need an extension, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I won't be
Go
long.
ahead.
Mayor McEwen, I think you were standing with the other mayors worried about or I think we're standing out of the mayor is against Bill 44 as being overreach. Do you still take that position?
100%.
Okay, so why are we even having a public hearing to satisfy the provincial government when there's going to be so much pushback and this could all be rescinded anyway?
We don't have a choice.
Why?
We have to change our, part of the regulation is to change our OCP to facilitate it, and that's what I asked Mr. Joseph about. The biggest thing that we have to do is to do a housing needs assessment, which is pretty, it's sort of just paperwork, but the big thing for us is we have to be able to facilitate extra housing, which is making sure every house up here can have a suite. And again, as you know, living in Ravenswood, there's a covenant actually against suites, and that this Bill 44 trumps that, so there will be suites.
But why? What would happen? What are the repercussions if you were just to say, no, we're not prepared to entertain this until we have a proper review of our OCP?
Yeah, they said, they actually did that in West Vancouver and said we're not going to adhere to that, and they brought in their own consultant and then just started changing things, and then we're fined. And at the cost would be
This
at ours.
happened in West Vancouver?
Yeah.
And is there any legal action with West Vancouver against the province on that?
Well, you have to understand, Mr. Lyons, we're just orphans of the province, so they can do whatever they want here.
So you're going to sit there and allow them to take away our right, our self-determination as a community? I
understand the cards that were being dealt, and am I happy about it? No, I was more standing with a lot of the other communities, like what's happening in Burnaby regarding, these buildings that are 3 and 4 stories, changing neighborhoods. And the biggest thing is that the province isn't facilitating any of the infrastructure that's going to be required for all of these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the municipalities are going to be on the hook for it, and we really have no choice.
Yeah. How strong is the movement to push back?
It's more, I'm going to say it's more an optical thing than anything else, because we know that they
ultimately have
they have the ultimate power. Right. They could eliminate us if they wanted to.
But was there not supposed to be some, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to process all this information, but was there not going to be a legal challenge against that?
Well, I guess a municipality could take on, but there is, when you're...
No, not the municipality, but the mayors, were not...
No, there was no...
There's nothing like that's happening at this point in time?
No, the other one was the other bill, which was about the professional... What was that bill? Professional alliance, and that, saying they're coming down with some pretty heavy-handed and really going to be changing communities and neighborhoods.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
If you want to reach out more, I can get you some more information and talk to you about it.
Jurgen Dirkton, 1815 A East Road.
I can't
can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
I'll repeat myself. Sorry, I got a little bit dry after sitting for so long. Jurgen Dirkton, 1815 A East Road. I want to thank Karen Elric for replying to my email and answering my request as to how much the new sound system cost. Apparently it was $25,000 or somewhere around there. My question is, why did it take 2 years to install it?
Well, the building hasn't been open 2 years. It wasn't even built.
We've been here for 2 years.
We've been here a year. Is it 2? I stand corrected. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Turning 60 and all of a sudden. I can't answer that. We had to do some research on it, and I think initially, to be honest, we were trying to fix it through the microphones, to be honest, through that end of things. And as you can see tonight, that didn't work out very well.
Thank you.
And I'm not too pleased. But I am pleased when you said at the last meeting that it was a drastic improvement, so thank you.
Nancy Maloney, 1724 East Road. And I had a couple of questions related to Spirit Park. And I wondered if asphalt, so I did read the agenda package, and I think I saw that asphalt was mentioned. Doug, you can't hear me? Closer, 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 closer. Yes. Okay, so my vague memory is I saw asphalt being mentioned as the material that would be used for the pathways in Spirit Park. And I wondered if it would be possible for the asphalt to be replaced by a more environmental product, such as the recycled tires. And, you know,
Sorry, what was?
could the asphalt be replaced? Paul might have an interest in this as chair of the Environment Committee, but I know
We did not include in the option any pathways at this point.
somehow I think I saw the mention of asphalt in what I was reading. I could be wrong, definitely could be wrong.
Parking lot, I guess?
No, maybe, I think related to
Maybe I can address
pathways.
it real quickly. Through the committees, it was discussed with the Inclusion Committee as well that we provide a well-graded surface that any user could use, and typically in that circumstances either concrete or asphalt.
Makes
and,
sense.
and it's typically because of economics. There are alternatives, but they're drastically more money.
I can tell you from Metro Vancouver's perspective, and I'm the chair of the parks, and it's all pavement that we use. It's to be able to facilitate that all access.
I know for metro parks or maybe other municipalities, there's also some consideration related to, you know, safety for children, especially disabled children, and the recycled tire product is
In the playgrounds, yeah.
exactly. It's been
The
very
pathways,
desirable.
Yeah, the pathways. We actually have a specific paving machine that just does pathways.
My other question through the mayor is how many people attended the two-part consultation engagement meetings? And one of which I think was committee members were invited, and another was that nearby neighbors were invited. But why was there not a village-wide meeting related to the park plan?
We did have a village-wide one, yeah. Do you know how many people attended the two, or?
My colleague here is just looking it up. It's no doubt in the Lucid Key report. Anecdotally, I would say off the top of my head, it was roughly somewhere between 20 and 30 people in those committee meetings.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and so when it comes to the public, yeah, we had a number of all hands events, which were at the Easter event, Marmurray event as well. That there was a table set up by the village for everyone to provide input and what have you. So there were overall village engagement events as well.
But there was not a specific engagement event village-wide that people were invited to that I don't remember. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, we held engagement events at 2 public events.
Right, like Monterey Day,
yes.
for instance. Okay, but there was not a specific park meeting. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good, thanks. Okay, motion to adjourn. Moved, second. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, everybody, for your patience with the microphones tonight. We will be working on fixing it tomorrow. Sorry.